Hello and welcome to art class. My name is Mr. Siebold and today we're going to be drawing a sunflower. This is actually one that I grew in my yard in the summer, and I grew several different ones, but this one turned out real pretty, so I thought we would draw that for art class. The middle of the flower is sort of round. Well, it's actually very round, and that's what we're going to start with. And then the petals, as you can see, they stretch out away from the center all the way around. So now that might be a little bit of a challenge, so work with me on that. Be real careful about that. But we can get this right. I'm sure that we can. First we need that circle that makes the middle of the sunflower. So just put your finger somewhere and put a dot, and then from that dot, let's see, I'm going to make like a gigantic letter C, and then I stop. If yours is bigger or smaller, it'll still work. And then I make a gigantic curved line as if I'm making the front of a letter D. And that's round enough. It may not be perfect. Now, we're going to be turning our paper around a good bit, so you need room to do that. So make sure you're not working on an area that's all cluttered up. Okay, slide 2 fingers down until you bump that circle and put a dot there. And we're going to turn it. We need to do this maybe 10 times. So we're just going to keep turning it and making dots. And if you get a little bit behind, you can just pause the video and get caught up. This just takes a little bit of time, but it helps us later to get things right. We got to get those petals stretched out away from that circle because they're long, colorful petals. And that's what we want ours to be too. Okay? Now, I didn't count those as I went, but there's probably about 10 of them. And we could put dots in between them, but let's just see. Let's start making the petals first. But before you make any petal, put a circle, like thick black circle in the middle of your circle that makes the middle of the sunflower, that is. And because you see, what we're going to do is we're going to start bringing our petals in toward the middle. Now, if yours isn't perfect, I have some really good news. It doesn't have to be perfect in order to be a good piece of art. Just do your best. Now I'm going to put my finger here just kind of as a reminder. I'm going to start this line like that, and I'm going to bend it down. I start like I'm making a letter A. See, that's kind of a triangle shape. But as I come down, I'm going to bend it back toward the middle. Okay, let's try it again. I'm going to start like I'm going to slant and make a letter A, but then I bend that back around to the middle. And I slant like I'm going to make a letter A and curve that back. I'm still turning my paper around because it makes it easier for me to do what I need to do. If yours aren't exactly like this, it's okay. Flower petals can be lots of different ways. You see, I see some on here that are long and stretchy and thin, and others that are kind of bent, and you just see, part of it. So it's okay. Whatever you get, whatever happens with yours will probably be just fine. All right. Start one direction and I curve it back. I go this way and I curve it back toward my finger. Now we're going to need more. We'll put those on later. For now, just take your time. Good work takes time. If you get in a hurry, it's not going to help. Then you're just going to have things that aren't going to look right. and you won't be happy with it. But if you take your time and do your best, then you can be happy anyway, because that's all I'm asking, is do your best. Now, if you're way ahead of me, that's okay. If you're behind, then you can just stop the video and get caught up. And if you're in a situation where you can't stop the video, then just skip what you are behind on, and you can go back and fill it in later. Just draw with me. Just skip the parts you're behind on, and you can fill in the blanks later. Whatever you miss, just go back and fill it in. You know, that looks pretty good. And I'm thinking, I don't want to ruin that, but we need to get some more flowers in there. So I'm going to put a dot in between those, and I'm going to come down and bump that and that. I'm going to put a dot out here in between these two, and I'm going to do what I did before, but when I run into these other flower petals, I'm going to stop. Now, what happens if you put the dot and you're curving down and you get all the way back to the flower? Well, that's okay too, because some of them do that, and some of them have gaps. Here's the dot, bringing down the line, both sides. It's art, and because it's art, yours can be completely different than mine and still be a good picture. I had a young student one time that was working on a project with me, and after a few minutes they stopped working. I could tell they were very upset, and I went and asked them, "What's the matter? Why are you so upset?" And that student said, "Mine doesn't look like everybody else's." And so I got the picture and I looked it over, and I was trying to find what she was complaining about. And it's true, her picture was not like everybody else's, but what she didn't know is that hers was better than everybody else's, because she had done something a little bit different, and actually it turned out better than mine. So I really hate when I see students get upset, because sometimes they've got the best one in class and they don't even know it. Alright, now that's starting to look like a flower. Now, if yours isn't all nicely formed, it's okay. Mine's not perfect. And I've got some really good news. It doesn't have to be perfect. If it did, well, I'm not sure what I would do, because I can't draw it to be perfect. Alright, we're going to put these big going to put these big leaves on this flower. And this is the way they were. They were huge. We may change them some though, because you know this is art. And we can look at a photograph and we can use the information that we like, and then some of it we just don't even have to use at all. So I think I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to put a big old stem. It's just like coming down through here. I'm going to put a big stem, and I'm going to change it. Now, this is a photograph of the flower, but now I cut the background out and just made it blue, because that's what we're going to do to ours. And I'm going to use leaves, but I'm going to use leaves that are more like this one, and maybe not that many of them, because I don't want to get it to where it's hard to color and hard to understand. So I'm going to put like a part of a rainbow there, and I think I'll make that double thick. You can see, just let your eye tell you what to do. Now, it's as if I'm going to draw a circle, and it's really, 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 really big, like the front of a letter D, sort of. But I don't go down, I just go that way, and then I bring this one over and bump right into it. A line through the middle. A few details. And there's one leaf. This is not really hard if you take your time. Now, if you get in a hurry or you spend all your time trying to fix something, that's going to slow you way down. Don't try to just keep fixing it. It's okay. It's a flower, and it can be many different ways. So I think I like the way that one went. So I'm going to put like another rainbow, part of a rainbow, not completely. And I'm going to double that line up like this. And this time it's like the front of a letter C, but it's huge. Great big. Why? Well, because when I look at the picture, I see really big leaves. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. And then it doesn't matter how you bring these other lines, just bring them out and run them together. It's kind of a little bit like a triangular shape, but it has curved sides. So it's not a shape that you can identify like it's a circle or a square or a triangle. It's just made from lines that join together like that. Alright, you know what, I think that might be enough. I think if we just color it now, I think that's enough on the leaves. We could put a little bit of background in there. Let me think about that. You know what? We do need to do that because I need to talk to you about foreground and background. So we're going to just put a line across here somewhere, and when you bump into something, just jump it. And you bump into something else, just jump over it. And your line can be a little higher or a little lower, but just put a line. And here's why. Because we're separating our picture into the foreground, which is the stuff close to us, and the background, which is the stuff that's further away. So back here is stuff that's far away. And we're just going to fill it in with sky because you know what? If we get it really complicated, it's not going to help the picture and it's going to be harder to do. So we're going to just color everything blue, like this one. Fill all in around the flower. And we're going to bring that blue all the way down to that line because the sky does not just sit at the top of your picture like that. It goes all the way down behind anything that's in front between you and the sky. And if you look outside, you can see the sky comes down until it hits the mountains or trees or buildings or something. It comes down until it touches the ground. Now, we could erase a few things and correct them, but I think it's going to be fine the way it is. Now, I'm going to give you just a moment to get something to color with. Crayons work fine. I kind of keep my crayons like this because, well, I'm going to have to add a few more to it. We don't need a lot of colors. Mostly, let's see, yellow and maybe some red, orange, and some green. Definitely going to need some green. Just let me go ahead and start getting my colors out. I know I'm going to need yellow for the flower petals. I know I'm going to need brown for the middle because, you know, this shows up really, really dark on the camera. It's brown, but it's very dark brown. We might have to mix some black in it. I like putting two colors together on a lot of things anyway. So there's the yellow and the brown. Now I need something kind of red or red-orange. It really doesn't matter which one it is. You know what, that's scarlet. That's pretty red. And that'd be okay, but here's red-orange right beside that or near it. I'm going to get that one. These will go on the flower petals. There's the middle. I'm going to use this darker green on the flower stem and the leaves, and I'm going to use a really light green. This one is yellow green. I'm going to use that on the ground, And then I need a light blue for my sky. So the color I'm going to use is this blue-green. And that makes a very, very pretty sky. Alright, that might be enough. If I need another color, I'll grab it later. I think we can get started on the coloring. Now, when you color, it's very important that you take your time. If you get in a hurry coloring, you're going to get white streaks, and those aren't going to look good. I've had so many students that did great drawings and then ruined them. Yes, they ruined them by coloring them sloppy. So, as an art teacher, I spend quite a bit of time helping my students understand why it's so important to color neatly. Because neat makes it pretty. It starts out pretty if you color it neat. Even if you have a drawing that didn't turn out so well, if you color it neatly, nobody will care because it'll still be beautiful. Alright, now I'm just taking my time because good work takes time, and the main thing I'm trying to focus on now is to stay in these lines the best I can. Every now and then I bump the pencil line and it drags some color up into the yellow, but that's just because we're working with crayons and there's not much we can do about it. If you get in a hurry, you're going to overrun the lines and you're going to have white streaks. Okay, I'm going to color one more, and then I'm really anxious to see what it's going to look like when I get that red-orange on there. I think it's going to be pretty. Let's see. Red-orange right here. And if you've got another orange, that's fine. They don't all have to be the same. It's art anyway, you know. People do different things in art. Nobody can say it's right or wrong because it's whatever you create. Yes, that's looking good. I like that red-orange. Now, it's a very powerful color, and yellow is not so powerful, so if you get too much, now it's going to, if you get too much red, it's just going to overrun your yellow altogether. I want to be careful with that orange, not to overdo it. It may take a while to color this, especially if you do your best to color it neatly. But that's okay. Good work takes time. The payoff is that people are going to like it and say nice things about it. And you're going to be proud of it. That's what you get out of it. You get the satisfaction of knowing that you did it well. And that people like it. Now, the thing I don't like so much about crayons, that they leave little pieces behind and then those smear. That can be a problem. I'm not sure how much of this we're going to get done in the amount of time we have, so I'm going to show you something else that's really important. I'm going to turn the paper until I'm comfortable coloring. I like to color with my paper in this direction to where that my stroke is going back and forth toward me. And I'm going to take this light blue and I'm going to very, very, very carefully run in around these lines that make the flower petal. There's some of that orange that flaked off, but it'll just have to be there. Okay, then I color back and forth, very short. I'm not coloring big. I'm not doing this because that puts big old curved lines in. It looks like a windshield wiper. Looks like your crayon was stuck to a windshield wiper. It puts big old curves in it. So I like to go short, little, color little, little, little. And when I go this way, I don't like to color fast, and I'll show you why in a minute. Get this finished. Now, I'll skip over this flower and go all the way down to the ground. But I want to show you the problem with something here first. Let me get in between these two flower petals, and I just slow way down, almost like really drawing with the crayon for a moment. We'll get that filled in. Now let me show you what happens if you get in a hurry. You get like that, and you get all these white streaks. Yeah. It's not going to be as pretty if you get in a hurry and you leave those white streaks. Just slow down when you're near a line. You can just bump into it. You can run your crayon along it for just a moment. But now once I get started going back and forth, I don't change. I do it forever and ever until I get this entire sky done. That keeps it uniform and neat, and that may be hard to understand, but it unifies the picture. It makes it neat. It helps make it neat. And neat is pretty. It starts out pretty. It can only get better. If you make it neat, it starts out pretty, and it can only get better. Alright, I'm going to work on the leaves a little bit just so you can see all the different things that need to be done, and then you can go back and finish up. The stem is just going to be dark green. I like to use 2 greens on most things that are green, so I may go back and just put a little bit of light yellow green down this edge, just a little bit, and it helps me fill in those white streaks that the other crayon left behind. And I think that looks pretty good. Now we're going to do the same thing with these leaves. We did the stem or the stalk with that dark green. We're going to do the leaves with that dark green. And the little bit of a problem that we're going to run into here is that when you color over these pencil lines, 1, they may smear into your color a little bit, and 2, it may cover them up to where you don't see them very much. And when you're finished, completely finished, you can take your black and you can go over the lines that disappeared. I wouldn't go over the outside edge lines. That won't help. But if you can go over these. Alright, what else? Now I hate to jump around and skip around, but I want you to see all the little parts. I want you to watch as I do each little part, because it will take me another 40 minutes to color this whole thing, and we just don't have that much time for these art lessons. Now, I don't think I laid out the black. I'm thinking now that I'm going to need to go over that with a little bit of black to darken it in some. Not a lot. I just need to go back and put some black. Now you may see I'm rolling my crayon around. It's like I'm making little Cheerios, only they're black and brown, because it creates a pattern, and that will help us get the pattern that I see in the photograph. By going round and round, we'll make it look more like that. So we can do that. Alright. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do on the ground, and then from that point on I'm just going to color as much as I can. And you may see me time warp. If you're watching this on video, you may see me time warp the coloring, so don't think you've got to do it that fast. You take your time, ever how long it takes, will be just fine. I would rather a student only get it partly finished than to rush and get it completely finished, because the partly finished picture is going to be prettier than the picture that was rushed. I'm using this light green on the ground, and it contrasts a little bit with this dark green. Contrast means, you know, a difference that, it means things are different, but in the case of art, the difference between them helps them look pretty together. Alright, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just stroking this with little short strokes. And from here, I'm probably going to time warp the coloring. But you take your time, and if you get this all finished up, you're going to be so proud. And I really hope you enjoyed this picture.